Welcome back. Thank you to Ryan Smith and David for that insightful chat about the Condo Act. Lots to learn on that, and condos are always such a fascinating thing.
Well, I took my certified condominium specialist course a long time ago. It was shortly after I started. I'm almost thinking I'm going to have to attend Ryan's next class to get, because there's been a fair amount of changes. So even if you took that course maybe 7 or 8 years ago, think about maybe retaking it.
And the industry changes so fast.
Yep.
We're going to talk about 2019 in review now. Lots has happened in the markets and the company.
It was. Should we say it was an interesting year?
It was definitely an interesting year for those of us that are number geeks and like that kind of thing. I mean, there's some fascinating stuff that happened, as well as some fun additions to the company that we're going to kind of go through. So much has happened. We're going to use notes to reference.
Yep.
And just kind of give you guys a year in review, starting with January of 2019. January came off of a very dismal December of 2018. We started with a huge oversupply and slower amount of sales, and it was actually a pretty disheartening start to the year. A lot of agents found it pretty difficult.
Very challenging in the first couple of months. We had one big change in January last year.
We had some mortgage rule changes that was a big slowdown for a lot of people. Completely took some people out of the market and knocked some people down in their purchasing power, which deflated the buyers, so took them out of the market a bit.
Yeah, or moved them down in buying capability. But the one thing I like in some ways about that is the way it still protects our mortgage industry long term.
Yeah.
And if you go back to 2007 and saw the meltdown in the US and tremendous drops in value, we didn't see that in Canada because we had strong mortgage rules that protected our banking systems.
Yeah, our financial institutions do a really good job in helping protect us. So stuff that happened in the company.
Big one for us.
A huge one for us, a bit of a end to an era. Russ's semi-retirement after 30 years with the company and managing for, 27 years?
Long time.
He semi-retired, still very active in the company, and you'll see him sitting in from time to time. But I think that'll happen.
Still a great resource for our management team, because he's got an encyclopedic knowledge of stuff that he knows where all the skeletons are, I guess would be the easiest way to say that, maybe.
Yeah.
But when we need advice and help in protecting our realtors, he's always a great resource still for us and for our realtors. We launched a very strong campaign that worked very well for us and resonated throughout the province.
Yeah, good timing for it. The Alberta Proud campaign, being an Alberta-based company founded right here in Calgary, we're incredibly proud of that, and we'll stand behind Albertans all the time. So that's going to continue through this year. AGM will have more information on the campaigns we're running this year.
Yep. So moving into February, it was much of the same. We still saw much lower sales than over 2018, with a drop of about 12%. Inventory was still rising. And it just seemed like the market was stalled. The realtors were very disheartened. We worked really hard to try and make sure that they were doing everything they could, that they focused to the positives, and we continue, of course, to do that. And we held our digital marketing event, and we've got details coming up this February for February's premier event, and those will be announced probably in about a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yep.
March, we started to see a modest incline in the sales, still a wide difference between the sales and the listings coming onto the market, so it was definitely not a balanced market. There was a lot of uncertainty that revolved around the provincial election that was upcoming in the spring. So buyer confidence has been our biggest challenge for the last few years, and that month was no different. We also launched our social media market slides that month. So I don't think I've ever seen anything shared as much as those slides. So
well, and it's interesting when you see them shared, the responses the realtors get to them, and people are engaging and reviewing them. When we moved into April, of course, we had the provincial election, which gave a big boost in consumer confidence simply because of the change of government. In reality, was the economy going to turn around in one day? Absolutely not. But the confidence that people felt with the change certainly started to show up in our sales. Sales were still down, but we had the election right near the end of the month. They were down over 4% or 5%, but we saw people being more positive. Krebs saw an increase in sales of 2%. CIR did quite strongly year over year. We were up 18% and outperformed the market by 16 compared to April 2018. Population, we're still seeing continue to grow in Calgary and in Alberta. And the interesting one was watching the rental markets picking up for the first time. And now we saw the return, I think, of some investors that were sensing the bottom of the market for rental properties, and that if rates were going to start to move up on rents, now was the time to get back in and start purchasing, which started to really start to fuel the changes we saw then throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And first-time buyers was up, which was nice.
They
got comfortable again.
Which should have sparked the property ladder. Which is
yes,
fantastic.
Absolutely.
May was continued off of that progression forward, and we saw another big jump. We continued to outperform the markets, beating our own 10-year average by over 8% in sales. With the Conservative government winning the election, the markets responded accordingly, and just that consumer confidence really helping propel the markets a bit. And we added the Canmore office, which was a pretty cool addition.
Yeah, and looking to grow that this year, hopefully.
Yeah.
June, July, and August were all fairly seasonal, which was a nice adjustment to see. We saw a great balancing of the inventory. Steady sales were needed to bring some normalcy to our markets. June, the automated digital geo-targeted ad campaigns were launched, which were quite effective and a great listing tool for our realtors. June, there was a scary moment in an open house that has led to safety apps and training for open houses. And we encourage all of you to put safety first when you're out there. Take some of the courses that are available, put the things in place that are going to keep you safe. We launched our Coming Soon program in June, which had a tremendous response. Great listing tool, but we've seen a number of homes get sold during the Coming Soon timeframe.
And even in multiple offers Coming Soon.
Well, and you look, even recently, the one that Lindsay and Kirsten just sold actually came at the Coming Soon program time and got firmed up after it hit the marketplace. So good to see that at least the owners of the company are investing in our new ideas too.
They're using the programs.
July, the automated digital geo-targeted open house campaigns were added as well, which has been beneficial for our realtors in better ways to market. Again, a good listing tool when you're talking about how you're going to promote your open houses and drive traffic into them.
September brought with it the uptick in the larger marketplaces. Some of the smaller, more rural areas did have slower markets coming into the fall, but the larger markets, Edmonton, Calgary, they were really doing quite strong. The rental and first-time home buyers were the hottest, which continued to spark the move-up buyers. And the government's first-time home buyer incentive program launched in September. We heard some hype moving up to it and then didn't hear anything after.
Well, and it seemed like they were slow to get the details out and how it was actually going to work. And even in talking to some of our preferred suppliers like TD, our partner, and in trying to get the information out to our realtors on how they could utilize it, there were some challenges to the program. We were also in the middle of an election, which was interesting because it seemed to spark a bit of a flurry because they were afraid what might happen with the election.
Right.
And then we saw it kind of slow down a little bit. And then after the election, and they feel, the world didn't end and people were still buying and selling, we saw a return to normalcy fairly quickly.
In September, we also launched the new Best My Nest site, which if you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's pretty cool. We've added a lot of new vendors this year and continue to add across the province for some of the other satellite offices as well.
Absolutely. October, federal election month. It was an interesting time and highly entertaining between blackface and different things that went on. But I think a lot of realtors kept their head down and just continued to work hard. The condo market was helping to actually lift the sales for the month, which was kind of amazing to see because it's been such a down market for so long.
We haven't had any positive condo market news prior to that, and I think it's been a few years. So.
Well, I always thought it was positive if somebody actually sold one. So it was like, hey, good, or if it sold quickly. And we are seeing, it was interesting watching the drop in days in market this year on condos.
Yeah.
From 7, 8, 9 months, and now we're getting down to, they're almost comparable to single family right now, which is a strong indicator of improvement in that marketplace for sure. Our new corporate site launched. We started tracking showings each week, which will help us see markets develop. And we hired Kristen Wood, our new property manager. She's developed our whole new property management division, which is now ready to go, and we'll be doing our official launch on it very shortly. But if you have any questions or anything, you can reach out to your office managers. We'll get you in touch with Kristen directly and get you up and going as quickly as possible if that's of interest or interest to your clients.
Yeah. November, as would be expected, started to slow down. The higher price points remained a little bit more stable than the lower markets. The lower markets saw a steeper decline. Not that the higher end markets were busy by any means, but they just kind of maintained a bit better. We also had a massive hit with the wine order.
Apparently, we now know how to get huge response from realtors. Give them what they want.
Order wine.
Order wine at really good prices.
Yeah. And then also, Chloe was elected to the board of directors with Krebs. So she had a landslide victory and just an incredible addition. And she'll be a voice for us at the board, which is fantastic.
Absolutely. And CI, December, we added the new printer upgrade. So 50K printer, a cutter, a lot of the things we used to outsource that we provided to our realtors as marketing services, we can now do in-house, which should reduce costs, which will pass on, of course, in savings to our realtors in getting materials done. I believe the Christmas card we sent out to everyone was actually done in-house and cut. And so it's nice to see. And if anybody has seen, hopefully you've all been in and picked up your Christmas card. It's an incredibly professional looking card. And what we're going to be able to produce moving forward for our realtors, to me, is just amazing. And I look back from when I started in 07 to now, and I look at the constant never-ending improvement we make for our realtors. And we just continue to do so.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing. Keeps us on our toes.
And year over year, we had a rise in transactions in a very challenging year still. And we were up 5.6% year over year.
That's right.
And that's because of our realtors.
December actually ended up being our fourth busiest December in the last decade.
Yeah, it was a tremendously strong month. And I think some of that pent-up demand that had slid during the election time continued to go. And there were just there seemed to be less issues all of a sudden too with transactions.
A little bit cleaner.
Yeah, a little bit less of this and a more of working together. And it seems like I'm not saying we're over the hump, but we can certainly see it.
Well, it's been building it's been building up momentum. One of the most interesting calls I had late in the year, I had an agent call me, and she was concerned because she had it had been listed for a few hours. It was a cash buyer, no conditions. They were looking to flip the property. She said there has to be a catch.
Yeah.
Like,
it can't be that too good to be true.
There are the odd, easy ones out there. So it was actually a pretty funny
Let's
situation.
just make sure the deposit clears and we're all good.
It was all good. So an interesting thing too, I dug a little bit further back in the deals and went back to 2003, and 80% of the Januaries that follow, obviously December.
January always follows December.
I need something to eat. Let's get breakfast.
Yeah, more coffee, I don't know.
Yeah. 80% of the Januaries outperform the month prior, and when we see a strong December, it's an even stronger January. So we're actually anticipating a really solid month. We'll see, the old saying goes, make hay while the sun shines, continue with this momentum, and January should be a really strong month.
Well, and we have been getting a lot more positive feedback. Our realtors are feeling better about what's going on out there and hopefully seeing lights at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
We saw some pretty interesting, both you and I were at the Chamber of Commerce TD forecast, and they had some pretty bold predictions. Don't know if I would say we were maybe going to be flat to slightly up this year, which would be fine if we can start moving more forward and get some stability into the marketplace. But I'm really looking forward to going to the CREB forecast and listening to Anne-Marie. She doesn't talk at a PhD and above level.
Yeah.
She brings it down to ways that we can understand it easily and be able to communicate that back out to our clients. So it's, if you haven't signed up, get signed up for those last few tickets that are available.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one. Anne-Marie has actually expanded to help area in their stats as well, so she's got the provincial outlook as well. So I think that one will be really interesting to see. I agree with you. I think we're going to be flat to slightly above through 2020, which, I mean, we're in more normalized markets now than we're used to, so it feels a lot slower.
Some of the other things upcoming this year, of course, rollout of Alberta One, starting with some of the smaller markets. They still haven't got a schedule of who's going to start and when, but hopefully by July they hope to have it rolled out for everybody.
Everybody's supposed to be on
except
board by
Edmonton.
June. Yeah, end of June. So, and Edmonton's willing to share the data, which is good. And that's just going to make us that much more efficient with our market information and what we can offer there. So. As far as a forecast, we are going to do a little bit more in-depth forecast for the company at the AGM. So if you can attend that. Also next week you mentioned the CREB forecast, so sit in on that. But to start the year, I actually heard something on an audio program and wanted to kind of sign off with this, but it's really interesting because if you can envision something, it gets exciting. If you can plan something, it becomes possible. If you schedule it, it becomes real. And I was thinking about that because so many times people often know what to do, but they don't do what they know. And you can envision it, you can plan it, but it doesn't mean anything if you don't put it into your calendar and get it done. So 2020, commit to yourselves, make sure that it's a fantastic year, strong mindset, and you can create whatever you choose to. So,
have a great 2020, everybody, and thanks for watching.